Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavala Girivaradhari Gopi Janavala Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanajari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Manu Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtatra Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtatra Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai. Prem se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we'll continue reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Liberation, Chapter 15, Paraśurāma, the Lord's Warrior Incarnation, Text 16 through 24. So as always, I'll read the translation of the text without purport, and then we can recite Text 24 together. Just give me one moment. Okay, so text 16. King Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Goswami, what was the offense that the Kshatriyas who could not control their senses committed before Lord Paraśurāma, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for which the Lord annihilated the Kshatriyas dynasty again and again. 17 through 19. Shukadeva Goswami said, the best of the Kshatriyas, Kārtavīryārjuna, the king of the high-highs, received 1,000 arms by worshipping Dattatreya, the plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. He also became undefeatable by enemies and received unobstructed sensory power, beauty and influence, strength, fame, and a mystic power by which to achieve all the perfections of yoga, such as anima and lagima. Thus, having become fully opulent, he roamed all over the universe without opposition, just like the wind. Text 20. Once while enjoying in the water of the river Narmada, the puffed-up Kārtavīryārjuna, surrounded by beautiful women and garlanded with a garland of victory, stopped the flow of the water with his arms. So the river was going in one direction, but he made the river flow backwards in a different direction by his majestic power. Now 21. Because Kārtavīryārjuna made the water flow in the opposite direction, the camp of Ravana, which was set up on the bank of the Narmada near the city of Mahishmati, was inundated. And this was unbearable to the 10-headed Ravana, who considered himself a great hero and could not tolerate Kārtavīryārjuna's power. Short purport. Ravana was out touring to gain victory over all the countries, Digvijaya, and he had camped on the bank of the Narmada river near the city of Mahishmati. Text 22. When Ravana attempted to insult Kārtavīryārjuna in the presence of the woman and thus offended him, Kārtavīryārjuna easily arrested Ravana and put him in custody in the city of Mahishmati, just as one captures a monkey, and then released him neglectfully. But we see that this is actually going to increase the pride of Kārtavīryārjuna. He conquered a great demon, Ravana, so easily. 23. Once, while Kārtavīryārjuna was wandering unengaged in a solitary forest and hunting, he approached the residence of Jamadagni. We also have a short purport here. Kārtavīryārjuna had no business going to the residence of Jamadagni, but because he was puffed up by his extraordinary power, he went there and offended Paraśurāma. This was the problem, this was the prelate to his being killed by Paraśurāma for his offensive act. And now text 24, we can recite the Sanskrit together. Tasmai sa Naradevaya Munir Arhanam Aharat Sasanya Matya Vahaya Havishmatya Tapudhanaha Tasmai sa Naradevaya Munir Arhanam Aharat Sasanya Matya Vahaya Havishmatya Tapodhana Tasmai sa Naradevaya Munir Arhanam Aharat Sasanya Matya Vahaya Havismatya Tapodhana Tasmai sa Naradevaya Munir Arhanam Aharat Sasanya Matya Vahaya Havismatya Tapodhana. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone online would like to recite this verse? Vanessa?
Tasmai Sanaradevaya Muniradhana Maharat Sasanya Matya Vahaya Havishmatya Tapodanaha.
Thank you. Tasmai, unto him. Saha, he, Jamadagni. Naradevaya, unto King Kārtavīryārjuna. Munihi, the great sage. Arhanam, paraphernalia for worship. Aharat, offered. Sasanya, with his soldiers. Amatya, his ministers. Vahaya, and the chariots. The elephants, the horses, or the men who carried the palanquins. Havishmatya. Sorry, Dviraprabhu? Havishmatya, because of possessing a kamadhenu, a cow that could supply everything. Tapadhanaha, and the great sage, whose only power was his austerity, or who was engaged in austerity. Translation. The sage Jamadagni, who was engaged in great austerities in the forest, received the king very well, along with the king's soldiers, ministers, and carriers. He supplied all the necessities to worship these guests, for he possessed a kamadhenu cow that was able to supply everything. And the purport. The Brahma Samhita informs us that the spiritual world, and especially the planet Galoka Vrindavan, where Krishna lives, is full of Surabhi cows. Surabhir abhipalayantam. The Surabhi cows is also called Kamadhenu. Although Jamadagni possessed only the Kamadhenu, he was able to get from it everything desirable. Thus, he was able to receive the king, along with the king's great number of followers, ministers, soldiers, animals, and the palanquin carriers. When we speak of a king, we understand that he is accompanied by many followers. Jamadagni was able to receive all the king's followers properly and feed them sumptuously with food prepared in ghee. The king was astonished at how opulent Jamadagni was because of possessing only one cow, and therefore he became envious of the great sage. This was the beginning of his offense. Paraśurāma, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, killed Kārtavīryārjuna because Kārtavīryārjuna was too proud. One may possess unusual opulence in this material world, but if one becomes puffed up and acts whimsically, he will be punished by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the lesson to learn from this history, in which Paraśurāma became angry at Kārtavīryārjuna and killed him and rid the entire world of Kshatriyas 21 times. The end of this purport. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vanchakalpatrubhishcha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvichesha Shunyavadi Pashtata Desha Atarine. So translation one more time. The sage Jamadagni, who was engaged in great austerities in the forest, received the king very well, along with the king's soldiers, ministers, and carriers. He supplied all the necessities to worship these guests, for he possessed a Kamadhenu cow that was able to supply everything. So Jamadagni is performing austerities, and he is resembling a wonderful example of how to receive a noble guest, a king. And along with the king, there are always more people coming, more of his followers, ministers and carriers. So therefore, it's not easy to sometimes welcome someone like that. It's not easy to do a festival at the temple where so many guests will come. But with the proper paraphernalia, which the sage only had one, Kamadhenu, cow, he was able to supply everything. And also by the mercy of Krishna and by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, Guru Parampara, we rely on Krishna, and in this way we can also have a nice festival, like we expected to have a memorial coming up soon for His Holiness Bhadrinarayan Swami, and I'm sure because devotees will come and speak and glorify Maharaj, the festival will be wonderful. Plus, it will be followed along with a sumptuous and delicious prasadam that Maharaj used to like. So this chapter and this place in the Srimad Bhagavatam describe the fall of the Kshatriyas. And Maharaj Parikshit is asking Shukadeva Goswami, why did Lord Paraśurāma have to annihilate the whole Kshatriya dynasty again and again so many times? Srila Prabhupada was having a conversation in Mayapur in February 25th in 1977. And Srila Prabhupada was mentioning Paraśurāma in this conversation. He would mention sometimes Paraśurāma. So he was speaking how, Srila Prabhupada would travel the world, he would go to different places, Australia, Russia, he would go to Africa, obviously America, different continents, all the continents, many times. 14 times he crossed the entire world, preaching Krishna consciousness. And he said that people generally, mass of people are nice everywhere. But the leaders, this is where the problem. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj was there also, and other devotees. And he said that, yes, leaders are bad all over the world, Srila Prabhupada. And then Tamal Krishna Goswami said, gradually, some of the people are beginning to understand what you're up to, Srila Prabhupada. Some of these big demons in America especially, they're beginning to understand that actually, Prabhupada, you're the most dangerous personality in the world. And why is that? Prabhupada comes to kill this demon crazy, as he would say, people, and that is the mission of Srila Prabhupada. And then Tamal Krishna Goswami, he said, when the good arguments fail, what do you do? What to do when the good arguments fail? Kill them, Srila Prabhupada said. Finish them just like Paraśurāma did. The Kshatriyas, Srila Prabhupada explains, who stopped following the rules, Vedic rules, they actually fled. Those who could survive, they fled to Europe. That's one thing that Srila Prabhupada would often mention, that when someone becomes inconsistent with practicing the Vedic rituals, rules and regulations, people like that in India, they stop following and they fled to Europe. And Srila Prabhupada is killing, as he mentions, these demons, but in which way? Srila Prabhupada is raising them, to the platform of Krishna consciousness through, which was mentioned in this conversation, prasadam and chanting. This is what will cure people. Prasadam and chanting. When the bellies are filled with prasadam, then it's easier to chant. We can practically see that. And even for, even for myself, I feel so much more enlivened and enriched with Krishna consciousness when I take prasadam. It's much easier to chant and dance like that. Maybe not right away, but generally speaking. So, and then Srila Prabhupada mentioned another thing in this conversation, introducing books in the school, colleges, libraries, as he would often do. These books are very nice, and there's no doubt that this literature, there's no such literature in the world. So much details, and people are just attracted by the covers. Often when you distribute books, you see that people, they notice a cover of Science of Self-Realization, for example, and they become attracted. I myself, when I got this book, I was just looking at that cover for a long time, just staring at it, and it was very, very attractive to me. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in text 1.3, this is 20, when all the incarnations, the 22 incarnations have been brought up. The 16th incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Bhrigupati or Paraśurāma, and he annihilated the administrative class 21 times, became angry with them, and that's what he did. Prabhupada says in the commentaries, whenever there's disobedience on the part of Kshatriyas, or the administrative class, against orders of the learned and intelligent Brahmanas, when it collapses, when they start clashing, fighting, not misunderstanding, there's a conflict between them, the administrators are removed by force from the posts. And arrangement is made for the better administration. So this is what we also are seeing in this example of Paraśurāma. He's not doing that because there's malice and there's some kind of feeling of superiority. Of course, there is a feeling of superiority, but he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's doing that for the righteous reason. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. He's doing that for the reasons of establishing better codes of religion and better administrative power. Chanakya Pandit, he says that Brahmanas are beautiful when they're forgiving, and Kshatriyas when they're heroic and never retreat from fighting. He's describing the qualities of different Varnas. And Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita as well that there's no being existing in this world who is not affected by the modes of nature. And qualities born of their own natures in accordance with the material modes determine the Varna of a particular individual. So Jamadagni was able to receive the king and his followers very much opulently, properly, and feed them sumptuously with preparations made of ghee. And then the Kārtavīryārjuna is thinking, how is it possible? What's the secret? How did he come up with so many preparations? How is it possible for one sage to do that? And he discovers that there's a jewel in the form of a wish-fulfilling cow that the sage possessed. And what does he do? He encourages his men to steal that cow, Kamadhenu, from the sage. And he did that while Paraśurāma was not there present in this hermitage of a sage. And of course now, in a later chapter, we'll learn how Paraśurāma will find out, eventually, the super soul is always Upadarshtānamantacha Bharata Bhakta Maheshvara, always seeing what we do, what we don't do. Everything is clear. But here Paraśurāma, in his incarnation, will become angry and take out his Parashum, the chopper, and different weapons, the shield, the bow, and will chase and eventually kill this king, Kārtavīryārjuna. And the king is going to be protected by his army, quite a large army described in the Bhagavatam here. But Paraśurāma is so quick, he's fighting at the speed of the mind. As Balaram Prabhu mentioned yesterday, it's like the wind, so quick, kills everyone. All the soldiers, the elephants, horses. And then he will cut off the arms of the king, who's got 1,000 arms, received as a boon from worshipping Dattatreya, and his head eventually as well. This is the nature of the Kshatriyas. They intended to govern and protect, so they need certain qualities for that. And then when we see that these qualities are developed by their nature, they are associated usually with the modes of passion, rajas. And so passion should be guided. If passion is not guided, if a person is passionate and young and passionate, but he's not properly guided, there could be mistakes. So passion is guided by goodness, or persons in goodness. And this is the Brahmanas. Because if passion is not guided by goodness, then it descends into tamas. So the Brahmanas help in this way. But often we see that Kshatriyas refuse to work under the guidance of the Brahmanas. They don't want to. Brahmanas or the Shastra, they might disregard, not accept it. Then in this way the system becomes dysfunctional. This is what we see in this present world, dysfunctional system or actually no system at all, of Varna and Ashram. So therefore, Paraśurāma, in example of this place in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in such a time he will come and remove unqualified rulers. Kshatriyas, they sometimes don't understand the language of diplomacy. They can only understand the language of power. Ruling Kshatriyas. Power and weapon. As they say sometimes, if you want to establish peace, you need to have a war. if you want to change the course and direction of the world, sometimes, often the war is necessary. I was thinking of a few examples in a Krishna book. One is the example of the Manigriva and Nalakuvara. This is described in the beginning of the Krishna book, how they became, those are the sons of Kuvera. They were bathing naked in a Mandakini river, and they were completely shameless, intoxicated by their pride in the form of wealth and sex. And then another symptom of this pride is also intoxication, sex life, plus gambling. And they disregarded the presence of a great sage, Narada, and then eventually were cursed to become the two Arjuna trees for 100 years. But not just 100 years like we live, but 100 years in the duration of the demigods. And another example is the example of King Rigo in this Krishna book. I wanted to just read something from the Krishna book, because in this example there are many great instructions of the varnas of the brahmanas, and how it's very shameful and sinful and discouraged by the Vedas to offend the brahmanas in their position. It's explained that one who takes a brahman's property thinking to enjoy it is actually taking the most deadly poison. And the person who steals a brahman's property will take birth as a worm in feces for 60,000 years. 60,000 years is a long time. So the story of King Riga, chapter 64 of the Krishna book, or Srimad Bhagavatam. At some point, this family members of Krishna, they were out for a picnic for a long time near Dvarka in the forest. And then they became thirsty. They went to the well and they found a lizard there. No one could help the lizard to get out, escape. Unusual large lizard. So they asked for the help of Krishna, who extended his left hand and helped a lizard to get out of the well. And then the lizard took a shape of a demigod, and Krishna was asking, "What happened to you? What is it? What's the situation you in? Why are you a lizard?" And this is King Riga. He said that if you've ever taken account of all charitable disposed men, I'm sure that you must have heard my name. The history of this degradation caused by karma kanda activities was narrated here. This is King Riga. He was very charitably disposed, and he had given a lot of cows to the brahmanas as a charity. It's described as the numbers of particles of dust on earth, stars in the sky, drops of water in the rainfall. And what happened with this example is that he was giving charity, this many amounts of cows, to one brahmana, and one escaped and went back to mix with another donation that he was supposed to give to a different brahmana. And they all became perplexed and upset with him. And it said that to give something to someone and then to take it back is considered to be a great sin. And he offered 1,000 cows to each brahmana in exchange for that missing cow that was causing the fight, but they did not agree to that. Brahman's property is called brahmasva, and according to the law of Manu, it cannot be acquired even by the government. So this example of King Riga pastime teaches that even a mistake like that can have severe reactions in life of someone who is dealing or who is having a relationship with the Brahma, who is serving the Brahmanas. Krishna himself says that I actually serve the Brahmanas 3 times a day myself. It's very important to have appropriate behavior and etiquette when we come in association of Brahmanas, real Brahmanas. In this purport, Srila Prabhupada, text 24, he says, one may possess unusual opulence in this material world, but if one becomes puffed up and acts whimsically, he will be punished by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you might have unusual opulence, but you should not think that you're actually the proprietor of that opulence. You should continue engaging that opulence in Krishna's service. And this is the lesson Prabhupada says, to learn from the history in which Paraśurāma became angry at Kārtavīryārjuna and killed him and rid the entire world of Kshatriya 21 times. Again, the fall down and the mistake was this enemy of any living entity in the form of pride. And we have different enemies, which 6 of them: distress, illusion, hunger, thirst, old age, death. And they, these enemies, they take birth from the anarthas: lust, anger, greed, delusion, pride, and envy. Well, this is the enemies, but they cause the phyllis a certain way. They cause the phyllis. They cause the phyllis to suffer, to feel the effects of this material body in the disease or old age, and so on and so forth. But these unwanted creepers of anarthas and things associated with them are easily eradicated. Maybe not so easily, but eradicated for sure, definitely. Bhagavatam explains in the first canto, by yad bibeti swayam bhayam, by even unconscious chanting of the holy name. It's feared even by the fear personified. So all the anarthas are also eradicated by this chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. It's a very powerful practice. I was distributing books yesterday, just to conclude with a few stories to make it more fun. Sometimes when I tend to speak and bring up this philosophy and pastimes, it's not so fun, but I'll end with a few stories. Maybe that will be fun. So I went to the Balboa Park yesterday, and the first person I met was one, I think she was, Filipina, one lady, and she stopped me. I was with a card going to set up a table at Balboa Park, and she stopped me by saying, she was very anxious actually, that, "Oh, I saw you the other day. You were helping people. You're trying to help people." I said, "Yes, I sometimes do that." "How often do you come here?" "A couple of times a week." "Oh, wait. I want to ask. I want you to speak with my husband." And she brought her husband, and he started talking to me. "What is this? What do you do? What is your religion? What books do you have?" I was showing him the books. And I thought, out of my, naive nature, that they are interested in his books. But turned out that they actually were quite hardcore and fanatic practitioners of another faith. And they were just trying to take my time, I guess, and convert me into their practice. I was just surprised how the first person I met, and she was anxious to see, what am I doing here? But anyway, then I proceeded, and I met this another person from Taiwan. His name is Alex, and he was asking me all these different questions about, especially about the material world, and for what reason God creates and has this material world, and how it's created, how it's all these things he was asking, all technical things. And I was trying to explain in a humble way that I can. Then I referred him to the books, and he was a little puzzled whether he can take this books that thick and actually read through them. But eventually, after talking to him for quite some time, he went away and came back maybe 2 hours later, and he called his parents in Taiwan. It was a big time difference. But he was concerned. I found out later he was concerned with whether he can afford the books. So he took him. He called his parents. He woke him up. His mother, she was a little upset, but they're also from a different faith. But she said, do as you like. If you want to take them, if you want to donate, do as you like. You can do that. And so he ended up taking the books. And then I met this family from Pennsylvania with 2 sisters, family traveling to California on vacation. And then we're talking, and actually they didn't want to stop in the beginning, but then one of the daughters, apparently she practices yoga. She's an instructor. She teaches yoga. She not just practices, but she teaches yoga at the university, at the State University in Pennsylvania. And then eventually talking to them, I find out that there's a Bhakti center there, and they do yoga. Besides yoga, they serve Paraśurāma, and they also do chanting. Maybe some of you have... Devotees do that. Yeah, devotees come. devotees organized this. And so eventually, yes, I said that this is books on Bhakti Yoga. We're from the same club, you know. And she was enthusiastic, and she took the books. And I asked for a donation, and I suggested some people give around $25 for a stock of books. But the mother said, no, give them 50. And then I gave another book, Krishna book, and gave them more. So they kept on giving like that very generously. And one Hispanic lady came by. She was practicing meditation, and she was sharing how sometimes I have these unusual experiences when I meditate. I sit on the sofa and I begin to sink into the sofa, and I feel so so happy, so ecstatic. And her friends, they speak about these experiences, and apparently they smoke marijuana. And she tells them, you don't have to smoke marijuana, you just need to meditate. You'll feel really ecstatic like I do. So, but then I like to say when it comes to meditation that the purpose of meditation is that we need to establish what are we doing that for. And the highest purpose of meditation is to do it to train us in selflessness, to train us to be selfless. And the object of this meditation is not some void, but it's actually the divine. I like to introduce people to Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and then we chant together. And then the last story, one person, her name's Monica. She's a big reader. She's really big on reading. She reads a lot of books. She believes in reincarnation and karma. As soon as she saw the coming back, she was really happy. And she was telling me about the experiences that she has with reading different books. One book, which I don't remember the title, but she said, it's not there that first you need to build one mountain and then the second mountain. And the first mountain is all of your selfishness, all of your bad habits. You build it, and then by building another mountain, you destroy the first one. And that other mountain is being selfless, developing a knowledge of the self, understanding yourself and things like that. So there's some kind of book like that she was mentioning to me. And I was just going along with that, encouraging her to speak up. It's really helpful to encourage people to speak up of their experiences so they can share and open their heart, and in this way they become favorable to us. Then eventually she ended up sharing that her mother and herself, they trying to go to this trip they do in a hike. It's called the Camino hike. Has anyone ever heard of this Camino? In Camino, big hike, one of the most famous hikes in Europe. And I believe it starts in Portugal going to Spain, and it ends in a cathedral, St. James Cathedral. So people sometimes they venture out and do a hike. It takes like sometimes up to 5 weeks to do it, depending on your pace. And I asked them, how are you going to survive? What are you going to eat there? And she said, there are some places where you can, people are kind, they can give you food. And some places where you can, like a rest area, some places where you can rest up. So anyway, she took the book. She was very excited. And I asked her for $1 million donations, as I always do. She gave a little less than that. But I told her to bring this book, so at least one, with you on this hike. When I was also in Oregon, on the traveling Sankirtan, I met this one German person, and he was traveling, also hiking through some mountains. So, somewhere in Oregon and also in Arizona, just all over the West Coast, I guess. And he's hiking, going through some challenging times. And I also gave him, I don't remember which one, but a small book, and told him the same thing, to bring it with you for encouragement. So you can read something that will encourage and enthuse you when you're in tough, difficult times. Because it could be difficult alone, or with someone in the wilderness. It could be difficult, So anyway, those are some Sankirtan experiences that I've had yesterday. Wonderful. It's always very uplifting to go out and speak with people on the basis of Krishna consciousness. It always gives you energy and many convictions in this process that we are participating in. Krishna consciousness and preaching facilitates your faith very much, and in the practice of abhideya, applying ourselves in this process, it's what's necessary to have faith. If our faith weakens, it becomes a little difficult, confusing to practice. But preaching, associating with devotees, distributing this knowledge, distributing Prasadam, which we have now Sankarshan coming back from India. I'm sure Sankarshan is feeling very enthused by the influence of the Holy Dham, and he'll share that through his preaching of Prasadam distribution, which everyone appreciates. So thank you so much for your attention. I'll end here. Maybe if you'd like to comment or ask a question. No? If anyone? Chad always has a question.
So, Hare Krishna. I just have a couple of quick questions. First one is the yoga instructor. She didn't have any of Srila Prabhupada's books?
That was my surprise. Maybe she did, but it didn't seem like she had the books I was sharing with her, which Bhagavad Gita, Self-Realization, Bhagavatam, Krishna book.
Yeah, that's
Come and
surprising.
back, chant and be happy, high taste. She didn't have those.
Well, Hare Krishna. And my second question is, did anyone figure out the killing 21 times, what that meant or what it means?
It will be unveiling, in the future pastime, because there are 2 chapters dedicated to this pastime. So I guess we'll.
Oh, the answer is revealed?
The answer will be revealed.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure. Well, maybe not. Well, definitely Srila Prabhupada will speak about this, and the next chapter will also speak about it. We'll see. We'll stay tuned for what is coming.
Okay, thank you, Hare Krishna.
Anything else? Anything online?
Hare Krishna, I just thank you for a nice class. I appreciated what you said about, beginning the work to change the direction, and basically having to fight that battle and changing the direction of society in current times. That was very inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vanessa, for tuning in and listening to our morning Bhagavatam classes. Thank you for your questions as well. Okay, so we can end here unless there's anything else. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.